John and myself and the roundtable and the rest of the folks that have chosen to join with us on this, Carrie Hertel and David Axelrod. And I'm sorry, David, but as I have to do it everywhere we go. This is not the David Axelrod from Washington, D.C. This is David Axelrod from Columbus, Ohio. And you can get his background, and some of it is provided for you in the press packet as well. We're delighted to have them as co-counsel with us. On this particular process, Sandy Walgate is not with us today. Okay. Sandy is Rob's mom. And I just think it's an interesting point of personal interest as to why Rob Walgate's mother would be one of the people suing the state, and that's because she represents the family crisis that they went through when Rob Walgate, the vice president of the American Policy Roundtable, before he came to join us, was in fact a gambling addict, and that his gambling addiction was mostly taken into consideration at Mount Muir Racetrack, which is conducted under the auspices of the West Virginia Lottery, I might add. And so, Rob, in your opinion, were those slot machines down there? I mean, they can't see you hiding behind the car.
I'll say they took my money.
They took you. Right. All right, so Rob, between the tracks and the slots, is a walking testimony of how this particular arena of activity destroys young lives. For our good fortune, Rob made it through rehab and has been free of that particular addiction for a long time, and we're very proud to have him on our staff. But Sandy is involved because she has a story to tell and why she anxiously wanted to be a part of this suit. Permit me to introduce, for his remarks, Senator Voinovich. Again, you're not surprised that we're together doing this once more, but I hope that part of the testimony of 1990 forward is the fact that the people that are doing this continue to do it because they are very convinced that this is in the best interest of the people of Ohio, particularly the families of Ohio. We've had no stronger spokesperson than Senator Voinovich, who joins us today to talk both about Issue 3 and about this lawsuit. My good friend, please, for your remarks.
Good afternoon. I'd like to thank David and the American Policy Roundtable for the work that they've been doing on this issue over the years. I think David and I first came to know each other back 20 years ago, and that was 1989 when I was mayor of the city of Cleveland, and this issue was going to be on the ballot in 1990, and we went to work to try and get information on the background of this and what it did in the various states where they made it available, and decided at that time that it wasn't a good thing for our state or for our families. People have asked me over the years if I had a magic wand, what would I do to solve, when I was back in the legislature and as governor, even in Washington, what would you do if you really wanted to help America? And my answer is reconstitute the family. The family is fundamental to our state and to our nation, to our communities. And I feel that casino gambling and the slots are an attack on our families. And as I say, during my career, I've done everything I can to support families and to try to defend our families. There's no question that they create economic difficulties in families, immense social problems. And one other thing that maybe isn't real popular today, but I think it affects their eternal happiness. I think if you think about the Our Father, at the end it says, Our Father asks God to lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. And I happen to believe that because we have been successful on 4 occasions in defeating gambling, that we have avoided or made possible avoiding the temptation of getting involved with gambling in the state. And anybody that understands the impact that that's had on families, like I do, understands what that does. In other words, not only does it affect their temporal situation, but it also affects their, I think, eternal happiness. And I thank God that Ohioans have seen through casino gambling, and time again have voted it down. They see it as it really is. Unfortunately, the proponents don't seem to be listening. And that is exactly why we're here today. We are once again being forced to defend an attack on Ohio values and families. And you know, this time it's on two fronts. One attack is being brought on by the familiar foe, the selfish out-of-state backers of Las Vegas-style casinos in Toledo, Cleveland, Cincinnati, and Columbus. And I refer to them, these greedy vultures know that in hard economic times, the last thing you need is a casino in your backyard to make things even worse. Yet they're pushing yet another casino and slot ballot initiative this fall. And again, as I say, that's been defeated 4 times in the past. The other attack, sadly, is being brought on by our own state's governor. The same man who stood shoulder to shoulder with Ohioans to defeat the so-called learn and earn proposal when he was running for governor in 2006. As a matter of fact, I think we appeared together on a couple of occasions talking about this was not a very good thing for the state of Ohio. Last year, when Governor Strickland announced his opposition to Issue 6, the casino proposal on last year's ballot, he said, quote, "I continue to believe that this is simply not the right economic measure, right economic development strategy for our state. I strongly believe that this measure would not be in the best interest of Ohio families or our state as a whole." And I have to say, he really got it right. Now the governor was referring at that time to full-blown casinos, but as you know, he has signed legislation to bring 17,500 slot machines to 7 horse racing tracks in Ohio. And based on his past comments, he knows that this is not in the best interest of Ohio's families. These slots will run 24 hours a day and be available even to people today that can't buy alcoholic beverages. In other words, 18-year-olds are going to be able to go in there and use those slot machines. Now, I know that much has changed in Ohio. The unemployment in July reached 11.2, and I know the governor and the legislature have a real problem. I went through that when I first became governor in 90, 91, 92. I know I have been there, and I have to say that their situation is a little more difficult than what I faced when I was governor. But I am familiar with the challenges. But I think that if you look at what they're doing and you study our lawsuit, that it's not only unconstitutional, it will cost the state more than it will bring in, and when balanced against the hurt it will do Ohio families and the social welfare costs the state will have to pay. And I think the governor, as a former social worker, certainly understands that.